Good morning. We've been talking a little bit about giving, particularly focused towards missions, and that's because that's how Paul ends his text here in Philippians chapter 4, thanking them at the bookend of a thank you and a thank you with a little, not a sermon, but exhortation regarding the gospel, living that out in passion, pursuing Christ with great passion, living in humility, and how that plays itself out in community through the middle portion of this wonderful, amazing letter. And now we're on the back end of this thank you, and he's thanking them for their giving. And in verse 18 is where we pick up in Philippians 4 this morning. I have received full payment and more. I got everything Epaphroditus brought to me here in prison, Paul says, and more. I am well supplied, having received from Epaphroditus the gifts you sent, a fragrant offering, a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to God. Paul says some things here about giving that are important for us to take note of. He describes these gifts via Epaphroditus as a fragrant offering, a sacrifice acceptable and pleasing to God. He is using this sacrificial language to communicate to them something about the nature of their giving, that while some of them could have thought, and I don't know that they did, but it's easy to think that you're giving to an individual. And in one sense you are, and chances are you might give to somebody because even if they're a missionary, you just believe in them and you think they're a great individual doing a great work. But Paul's keen to note that that giving is really about something else, and it's very theological. It's an act of worship. That the giving of your resources is in and of itself an offering to God. It's you saying, God, you and your work are worthy of that which I am giving to you. Now, of course, giving is tricky because in one sense, as you're giving, what is it that you're giving? Well, you're really giving back to God what's already his, because anything that you have from God is a gift. So in that sense, you're kind of a regifter. You're giving back that which you are receiving as gift. The problem comes when you don't think that way. You don't conceive of the things that you have as gifts, so therefore when you give them, you feel like you're sacrificing on your part in some way that is a letting go of the things that are yours. But the reality is you're giving out of what God has gifted you, what God has blessed you with. And Paul says here, when you do that, it's this kind of, and he uses sacrificial language as in you're offering something to God. You're saying, God, you're worthy of this. Because this mission will bring you glory. This message going out into the ears of people will bring you glory. The spreading of your kingdom will bring you glory. And so to that end, we give. The Philippians did that, and they serve as a model. So remember, when you give, whether it be to missions or your local church, the end actually is not what happens with that money in real time. That's ultimately like before the end. The end is that all to the glory of God. In that way, God's glory is ultimate. And so may you give, but may you give not to get back. May you give not to see fruit, although I hope you see fruit. May you give not because you believe in the people or the mission that you're given to, although I hope you do believe in those. May you give ultimately because you're offering back to God what's his. And you're saying that he's worthy of it all. Take care.